everyone, welcome to the first episode of Uni Unpacked. I'm Flo, this is Cec, and today we're going to speak about moving to uni, becoming a fresher, and all the tips you might want to learn along the way. So we thought we'd just say a bit about ourselves, really.
Yeah, we thought we'd give you some context on how we met. So do you want to lead with the story, Flo?
Yeah, I'll go with it. I guess it was one of those like kind of happy accidents. Like we were basically on the same course at university, and we're going to like our first ever induction, and we were trying to all meet up because you kind of knew a few people who were trying to join the course and I didn't know anyone.
Yeah, I'd found some people on some Facebook groups, like everybody sort of suggests, and I only knew people by name, and we'd have just like a brief conversation. So, and you'd had a different conversation with the same people. So basically I'd seen Flo walk into the place that I'd agreed to meet someone, and I went up to her and I said, "Are you Charlotte?" And she said, "No,
no,
I'm Flo." And then we basically discovered that we were heading to the same place anyway and doing the same course. So
yeah, and then just from there it clicked. That sounds so cringy, but like we just got along basically.
Yeah, like the rest is history, literally. Like we just walked the lesson together and then have spoken ever since.
Yeah,
decided to sit next to each other.
It definitely made the course like a lot smoother to go into. But speaking of courses, I guess we could touch on our first kind of point that we wanted to cover today, which is kind of academic tips. I guess as you're going into uni, you're having that transition from college and then going into this whole new environment could be like a lot. And I guess, I don't know, I was trying to think of like what I wish I would have known.
Yeah.
I think I went to a college, not a sixth form. So I think it was already quite like university led, but I know not everyone has that. I think maybe note taking is probably one of the big things that I like notice a difference with because doing the A-levels that I did were very like note heavy and I needed to like learn everything and then go back to revise it. But our course was a lot more practical.
Yeah.
And I think it surprised me how much, obviously course to course it's subjective, but how much I didn't necessarily need to do as much intensive note taking because we were kind of learning on the job. I think it was all about like learning like the ebbs and flows of the style of your course.
Yeah. And every course is different. So I think it's hard because it's like you want to compare, but in a way, some courses will have more reading, some courses will have more things you'll have to take notes on. But for us, as you say, we had a very practical course. So we did creative media. So a lot of the time we were sort of like up practicing things with equipment. But you have to be responsible for yourself as well, which I think is quite an adjustment.
Yeah, that's a good one. Taking kind of responsibility.
Yeah. And like self-motivating. So you kind of know that the work that you're putting into it outside of university is like just as important, if not more important than the actual lectures themselves.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like that was a big adjustment that like I wish I'd known sort of before I went into it.
Especially as a first year, I think you need to kind of give yourself a bit of grace that everyone's catching up to speed. And if someone say, I've got all of this work to do, and you're like, oh, I don't feel like I do, it's not because you're doing less or more than. I think it's just because everyone's trying to like get in that groove. So like, don't get too caught up
in that. Yeah, definitely. And I think as well, everybody has a different style of studying. I feel like for some people it works a little bit better if you're physically taking notes, like writing things down maybe during the lectures or during the seminars. But then for other people, you might find that, as you say, practical learning, sort of like booking out equipment or trying to find spaces in your university that you can use is just as important.
I think you've all got that space to just experiment
and
try
literally.
to see what works for you.
And I think especially in first year, like that is the time to sort of figure out how you work best. And then by the time you get to second and third year, you'll be a pro. What other things? So there's probably Freshers Week itself I was going to cover.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Go for it, because I feel like that's a whole topic.
It's a whole thing. And I think there's a pressure for it to be, you know, the place where you meet all your friends and you move in with all these people, you know, if you decide to live at university. And you feel the pressure to be friends with everybody. Yeah. And I think it's really hard when you go in and you feel like, you know, you have to put your best self forward and maybe you're not actually truly your comfortable self. And yeah, as I said, you feel this pressure to be friends with all your housemates and the friends that you make at university are the friends you make for life, but it's not necessarily true. No, and 100%. You can't plan everything to a T. Like, as we just spoke about in the story of how we met, it was just off the cuff and we didn't plan it, and we're still friends to this day. But like, you can't plan everything, and it's okay if you don't get along with your housemates. It's okay if you don't meet people on the first day that you click with, because you'll meet friends in second year and third year.
Yeah, even that, like, kind of, you'd already joined a society in first year, and I was a bit scared to do that. But by second year, I joined it as well, and we made loads of friends then. And that was obviously, we'd already been here for a year. And then even going into third year, like, we've been with our course for 2 years. And I think all of us were kind of like plucking up the courage to speak outside of just like uni terms.
Yeah.
And then we all ended up really getting along. And then we'd like go do external things just with our course as well. So like, you never know, I guess, where friendship might like
blossom. Yeah. But it's true, like the first few years we were all sort of put in groups for our lessons, and I think we were all just a little bit shy and just very focused on doing the work and not actually like, you know that they talk about like networking and stuff. We were trying to think about how to sort of be professional and work with these new people, but it was nice to sort of build that more social relationship with them, like the further the course went on. So yeah, by third year we were all really close, and there was like 15 of us on this course. Yeah. We graduated, and by the time graduation rolled around, it was really nice because we all felt really close to each other. Yeah.
But it's remembering that everyone's in the same boat. Like, you're going to this new place, there's going to be so many people around that you will definitely not meet on the first. You might even go on like a night out and you'll meet all these people when you're out and you're like, oh my God, these are all my friends. And then you literally won't speak to them the next day. It's really like up and down. But then I feel like when you meet people that you'll like genuinely resonate with, then it, you'll know and you'll be friends.
Exactly. And I feel like as well, don't think that just because you've met people on the first day and you have gotten along with them, that you're going to be friends with them the entire time. Yeah. Like, don't rush into anything. I think
it's a lot of big changes. I feel like you come to uni as one person, then certainly for me, like, I've grown so much like in confidence and just like who I am as a person. And I feel like when you start as a fresher, it's going to be so different to when you finish. So it just take your time. Don't try and put yourself in like the box of, these are the people I need to be friends with. This is how I have to act to be friends with them. Like,
I think for me as well, like joining university and moving away from home, like I had to live with 9 people I'd never met before. Yeah. Same with you.
It's a big transition.
It was a lot of different people, and you do feel sort of forced to get along with them and like be friends with all of them. And that can be difficult. It's just a lot of people and it can be very overwhelming, especially if you come from like a small town and sort of everybody already knows each other. I came from this like small sixth form, so like it was a big adjustment, but some of them I still talk to now, some of them I don't, and that's fine. Like, you just have to take your time.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, well, as I said, I came from a big sixth form, but even then I still didn't know people, so it's circumstances. But I guess to kind of, I don't know, maybe what would be your one tip if you wanted to like go out and maybe approach someone?
Oh, if you want to approach someone.
Yeah, I know that could be a big thing. Or like, know, when you kind of see someone, or even when you move into your flat, like a top tip to be like, okay, maybe I can make the first move to like approach a friendship, I guess, as soon as you move in.
I think it's really important to be honest with your feelings. Like, I know that that's sort of just a general thing, but I think it's okay to admit that you're maybe a bit nervous.
Yeah, that's always a good icebreaker to be like, I feel the same as you do. Because I feel like that instantly, like, everyone just relaxes and you can just chat.
Yeah, exactly. Like, when I first came in, one of my housemates said to me and my parents, she was like, oh my gosh, are you on the top floor? And I was like, yeah. She said, it was so hot up there last night. Like, it was just something to break the ice. And she was just basically talking about her experience so far, even though she'd literally been there a day. And I think, yeah, if you're just genuine about how you feel and you say, oh, like, this is a bit daunting for me, you'll find that people feel the same. Not everyone will admit it, but everybody does feel the same. Yeah. So it's really nice to sort of just be honest with how you feel. And I think that's kind of how I ended up becoming friends with people, because I just wasn't trying to pretend to be someone that I wasn't. Yeah. I think another tip is sort of just to kind of have your door open as much as possible.
Yeah. We all bought like, well, not all of us, but some people, which I thought was a really good idea, had brought like a batch of like donuts or cookies, and they left them on the kitchen table.
That's
or even
so
just
smart.
A packet of sweets, and then they sent a message to everyone to be like, help yourself. And I think when you were in the kitchen at the same time and you caught people, you'd be like, oh, like, thank you so much. And then you just got into a conversation, which was really nice.
That's a really good idea.
Because then it also meant that not everyone was there at the same time. You could kind of like dip in and out and maybe just meet a couple of people, which was a bit calmer.
That's really nice. Actually, it reminds me of like when you go into your kitchen and whatever, and it depends because everyone will have brought different things from home. If you like, say one person, I don't know, brings an air fryer or something, you could be like, oh, like, you're all welcome to use it. And then you can sort of just bond over things like that. And I suppose when you're in a shared space and you're like sharing a fridge, like sharing cupboards and things like that, like you are just gonna naturally spark up some conversation about that.
Exactly.
I think the kitchen's a big one. Like for us, we sort of just had like this kitchen with a sofa in, and you had the same, and that was the place where everybody would congregate. So it's easy to sort of lock yourself away in your room, and I do get being nervous and wanting to do that, but I think if you want to speak to people, definitely go to those shared spaces and just know that like
9 times out of 10 people will say hi.
Of
and
course.
that's all it takes, really.
You
just say hi back and they'll say how are you,
and that's
then
it.
you end up chatting. But yeah, exactly that.
So what was the next thing that we're going to talk about? The top things that you should bring.
Yes.
When you move in.
I think it's one of those things, some people are really like intensively kind of researching. Some people might have older siblings that can tell them what to bring. I know for me, I'm an only child, so I kind of had to just like wing it a little bit, have a look on kind of social media. But that's kind of what we've done today. So I have my phone down here, and we've asked people what their top thing that they did bring with them, and then one thing they wish they had also brought. Yeah. So let's kind of have a look. So I'm intrigued to see what people say, actually.
Did you feel like you had similar answers coming up? Or that you agreed?
Okay, looking at these. Door hooks for towels in the bathroom and coats on the back of the door. That is a very good one.
I did that.
I did as well.
And I was really glad because in the accommodation we were in, there was one coat hook, I think, on the back of the door. But it was just really helpful. You could hang bags up on it, anything. I think just any sort of storage. Is amazing. I had in those like, you could put it in your wardrobe. I had one of those things that you could hang onto the rail, and it sort of like organised it into sections. So I could fold my clothes as well as hang them up, because if you just have a rail, it can be a bit difficult to find places to put just like your everyday clothing.
Yeah, I had those like bins you can get for like under your bed as well.
Yeah.
I think IKEA is going to be every student's best friend, the storage and all of that, just because it just comes in handy.
Yeah. Just big, like deep boxes, but also make sure that if you can, like you check sort of the measurements underneath your bed so that it can actually fit your stuff under there.
Or see what the uni supplies, like they might give you some storage.
Yeah. We got some storage boxes, I think, given with the rooms.
And funnily enough, someone else has had Tupperware, slightly different, more food related, but also really good. Because I feel like if you're coming to uni and you're maybe, I know you learn how to cook a few kind of like basic student meals, I feel like pasta sauces like spag bowl, anything like that. Yeah. Really good to just whack in a Tupperware, keep it in the fridge, and then you're done for the week. Yeah. So easy. So I think that's a good one. And then I guess like actual homey bits, like bits to make your room feel like you're not just in a halls if you're coming to halls.
100% agree. I feel like if you can bring some plants, obviously every accommodation's different, like not everywhere allows you to like have like candles as such, but I think things that sort of make the room,
like
as
blankets,
you say,
cushions, photos of home, photos
100%.
of family is just always nice.
I think that's the first, I'm pretty sure that is the first thing I did. Like when I moved in, I had my door open and the girl opposite me had her door open as well, and I was just talking to her as I was putting up pictures of me and my friends from home and like me and my boyfriend and my family, and it was just really nice because I could speak about all the people that mattered to me, and like she was doing the same.
It's another conversation opener. Exactly.
And that was just something for me to do because like I think I wanted to make my space feel settled so that I could feel more settled and at home straight away.
Yeah, I was the same. I think it just, putting up bits and bobs, but also it meant that because we had like a pin board, I feel like most like university halls have some kind of space where you can pin stuff
photos up,
and it was quite nice as across the year you could kind of collect stuff and like display it on your pin board, so you had like your memories you came with, and then it was nice to watch as the year went along, like you could add to it,
stuff that you'd like from photo booths and stuff.
Exactly like that. Exactly. So moving on to some things that people wish they had, a doorstop has come up quite a few times. I know you just mentioned you both had your door open, so you were chatting. Yeah. I feel like that's a great way to, obviously you have your door open and then you can see and be like, oh, hi, like, how's your day?
Yeah. I also feel like it's a bit of a random one, but all of us tended to congregate in the hallway for some reason.
Yeah, so did we. We'd all sit on the landing.
But I think it's because maybe we all wouldn't want to go into one person's room, maybe because of limited space, or I don't know, my room most of the time is probably messy, but we all just sort of sat outside, like on the stairs or whatever, and that's all where we chat and like do whatever. So I think having it open literally gives you the space to to be out and be talking to people and seeing who's like walking through and whatever, which is really nice.
Exactly. What else have we got? A fan. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I guess especially in summer. Not maybe not in the winter.
Yeah, probably not.
But I think that's just a good, I mean, if you can, why not?
Yeah.
It's a good thing. Dishmatic. That's probably something that someone did bring. But
did you
also,
bring?
I didn't. I had sponges and soap. I feel like every uni student loves a Dishmatic.
I brought a Dishmatic.
Yeah.
I saw the TikToks telling me to bring a Dishmatic, so I thought I'm going to go all out.
If you don't know what a Dishmatic is, it's basically a sponge on the end of a piece of plastic, and you can store washing up liquid inside the handle of the sponge. So you're basically not using like a double amount of stuff. You can just go like that, and then as you wash the pan,
as you're like
comes
pressing
out.
it down.
Yeah.
It made things
Kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah, it made things really handy. And like, to be fair, just general cleaning tips. You could use that on the shower screen. You could use that anywhere. Like, I think I wasn't the only one that had the idea. I'm pretty sure we had like 4 or 5 Dishmatics in our kitchen between 10 people. So that was great.
Can you think of what was one thing you wish you'd brought or had brought that you thought everyone else should know? It's a good backup. I think I'd say tea towels and kitchen roll.
Oh my God.
Because you will get through it like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah, and you don't know why.
Yeah,
it's so random. Or
like
they'll go missing.
Or like liquid. I don't even know. Like we just use random tea towels, I don't know, just to clean or to just even put on like the table sometimes to protect it from, I don't know, cooking or like we put some on the table, you know, random stuff.
I think I would say another kitchen one, really random, is drawer inserts for your cutlery.
Oh, yeah, for your cutlery. Because those drawers are like, you could be rattling around for ages trying to find anything.
That's what we did. And actually as well, I would recommend like...
Or getting a cutlery that you know is your cutlery.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I would recommend, like, I basically turned up with cutlery that I thought was really unique. It was lovely. I had like pink handles, but somebody in my house had the exact same. And I was like, oh, this is going to get lost. And I probably left with like 2 forks and 2 knives and wasn't great. But you could label it. You could get something that's quite unique. Exactly. But I think drawer inserts and just general drawer inserts as well for like your room as well. If you want to organise whether you want to put like stationery in there or clothing, I think it's really handy because it's just something that people wouldn't think of.
Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to think what else was a bedside lamp. I guess some places have them, but some don't. Yeah. So I feel like if you want that little bit of extra light, or like fairy lights, that was a really popular one.
Yeah, give you some warm lighting.
Just make it feel a bit more cozy.
It definitely helps with that cozy vibe and like feeling more at home. Yeah. I definitely recommend that. I had like the neon sort of signs. So I had like different sort of coloured lighting. Yeah. I took so much pride in decorating my room.
Oh, same. I made it like my own little space.
Exactly.
I feel that's one of the exciting things. You're coming to uni and it's maybe the first time that you've been away from home and you're like, oh my gosh, I have all this new space that you can do whatever you want with it. Within reason.
Yeah, literally.
Just having some fun bedding and like, you know, make it nice.
That's what I did. I mean, I started off with a kettle in my room. I never used it.
Yes.
Well, I wanted to like make tea up there.
God, she really wanted a cup of tea.
I know, but I didn't have a fridge. It didn't make sense. But I started off very ambitious. But yeah, I did that within the first sort of 3 days. I was like, I'm getting my room together. And I was just so excited. Even going shopping, like when I went to Dunelm with my mum.
That was a good way to bond with flatmates as well. Well, I was going to say if you went before, but like when you'll come to uni, if you've forgotten a thing, you could like go and be like, does anyone else need a pillow?
Yeah, exactly. But also we did bond over, even before coming, we were really smart actually. We all managed to find each other on like Facebook groups and stuff. We made a Snapchat group, and then when we were shopping for uni stuff, I messaged people and said like, oh, like I'm shopping for my uni stuff today, and like showed them the things that I brought. And that was just a nice way, as I said, to break the ice and sort of just like introduce myself, I guess, and like the things that I like and how I wanted to decorate my room. And I feel like everyone sort of shops for the essentials. Like,
I feel like we could touch on that actually, like the concept of group chats, because I feel like that's a massive thing. So I'm going to put this down, especially like when you come to uni, if you have or if you haven't kind of been part of like online groups. But as I said, I didn't, and I think it worked out fine. But then also if you can, that can be really reassuring. So it's definitely worth having a look if your university, they often have like a Facebook group
Yeah.
that may be worth joining, and people all the time will comment like, I'm on this course, like is anyone in a group chat?
That's exactly what I did. Yeah, there was a Facebook group, and I think they like encourage you to say what accommodation you're in and what course you were on.
Yeah.
So I found 2 of my course mates. So Charlotte was one of them, who I thought Flo was. And then my friend Keely also, I met and sort of spoke to her a little bit about what we were interested in, why we decided to pick media. It was really nice, sort of just to like have that opener, and I could at least, when I met them, put like a name to a face. It was really, really nice.
Exactly
So I had that for my course. And then, as I said, I was really lucky that I found everybody that was in my house as well. So we sort of went in knowing each other's names. And what we did as well is we booked a freshers event. So I'd say generally don't feel like you're getting too much FOMO from freshers events, because it can be overwhelming.
I went to one.
I went to one.
And I can't really, some people really go for it, and I'm like, that looks so fun. But also I chose to just go to one. And you know, we did stuff in the flat. Like I didn't feel like, we went to the SU and played like pool and got drinks there.
That's what we did. You went to the neon.
Yeah, we went to a neon party. That was
I
the
went
only
to
one
the
that I
neon
did.
party as well. So that's what we booked up. And basically we thought it would be a good idea, because then we could do something as a flat, get to know each other.
Yeah.
For me, it was like the second time I'd ever actually gone out clubbing.
Yeah.
And it was in COVID time that we both joined as well. So things were just starting to open up again.
Yeah.
But we booked that for, I think it was on a Sunday, which is really random, but it was because people were moving in throughout the week.
Yeah.
So by the Sunday, we'd all met each other, and we just said, okay, we'll book this one event together. And then after that, you basically just decided what you want to do. And I didn't do any other official events. I basically just went to the SU, spoke to people, decided to join a society.
If you're not like a massive drinker and going out isn't really your thing, societies and just going to the SU, because they're bound to have maybe pool or even like cards or anything that you can kind of just all play.
Board games.
Yeah, still be like social if you want to be, but there's no pressure to drink, which is obviously great to have a bit of like variation, do some wholesome activities as well.
Exactly. That's what I did like with the people that lived next door to me, is we played Heads Up. We went to the SU, played Heads Up on our phone, and again, that's another icebreaker. You sort of just
play like a game or something. Yeah.
And it was just easy. We had a fun time. And like the SU as well was right next to where we lived. So it was perfect.
Yeah.
Just a quick walk over there, and then you feel like you've been a bit social for the day, but then you can also call it a night early if you want to, which is great.
Exactly. I think that would be my kind of key takeaway, or well, I guess from this episode as a whole, is just like, I know, be open-minded and don't put too much pressure on yourself, because if you think everyone's doing one thing, guarantee there'll be someone else who is feeling the same. And even if they don't say it, like, will want to do the things that you want to do as well. Like, nobody is going to be alone. There'll always be someone at uni for you to do stuff with.
Yeah, I agree. There's so much societal pressure, but you just sort of have to not stick with what you know, as you say, be open-minded, but also don't force yourself to do anything you don't want to do, because you will find your people, you will find your friends, and you'll find your feet. And it might take a while, but it's not going to happen necessarily for you in Freshers Week. And that's fine.
Exactly. Just take your time. But thank you so much for listening for today's episode. We hope you've kind of learned a few things, maybe found out something you want to do when you get to uni, or some helpful tips. And we'll catch you in the next episode.
Bye.